Hi everybody, welcome to Kilnaways vlog again today. Continuing to look at reading between the lines, and today's thought is day 20, looking at John 18 verse 12 and Matthew 5:14 to 16, and the title of the chapter is The Light of the World. And so I'll just read the thought and then just share my additional thoughts afterwards. Light of the world. How does the world think of the church? Some might say we are a murky institution, others that we are irredeemably dark. Some may grant that we are a tiny pinprick of light. Perhaps we have offered a measure of enlightenment to the world, but only dimly. Jesus, though, is unequivocal. The church is the light of the world. Matthew 5:14. Can he be serious? Has he met many Christians? How can he say this? It can't be because of any natural brilliance in believers. No, Christians are the light of the world because Christ is. Think of the ways the believer is united to Jesus. He is our head, we are his body, Ephesians 5:23. He is our bridegroom, we are his bride, Ephesians 5:25. He is the vine, we are the branches, John 15 verse 5. These descriptions speak of mutual interplay, but there are other descriptions in which we become just what Christ is because we are bone of his bones and flesh of his flesh, Genesis 2:23. He is the Son, we are sons, John 1:12. He is the chosen one, we are the chosen ones, 1 Peter 1:1 and 20. He is the anointed one, we are anointed ones, 2 Corinthians 1:21. He is the righteous one, we are the righteous ones, 2 Corinthians 5:21. He is Abraham's seed, we are Abraham's seed, Galatians 3:16 and 29. But perhaps nowhere is the identity more glaring than here. In John 8 verse 12, Jesus calls himself the light of the world. And now here he says to his followers, you are the light of the world. What Christ is individually and by nature, we become corporately and by grace. He shines as the outgoing brilliance of the Father's love, and we shine as the outgoing radiance of Christ. And a dark world is lit up. Notice that the world has no light of its own. Jesus is like the sun. We are like the moon, but the world is engulfed in night. It has no source of light itself. By nature, it is a dark place. Think about that. Whatever light the world enjoys is the reflected glory of Christ and his people. But as you consider the world's darkness, consider also your relationship to it. Light does not run from darkness. The opposite. Light, by its very nature, goes out from itself. It enters darkness to transform it. And this is our calling as the church. We are light for the world. How do you feel about that? Often we feel daunted by the darkness around us, and certainly it can be scary. There is a kind of power to darkness, a frightening void, a lack, an abyss, a nothingness. We might feel intimidated by the darkness, but we should know this: light and darkness are not equal opposites. Darkness is not a thing, it's the lack of a thing. Light drives out darkness. Darkness cannot drive out light. Where light is, the darkness must flee. The light will always win in the end. As the saying, often attributed to Francis of Assisi goes, all the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light of a single candle, and you are the light of the world. The church's only need, therefore, is to be itself. Your only need today is to be the radiant Christian that you already are. So, I'll just add my thoughts on to the end. It's a really interesting thought for today, because just reading it, what stood out to me was the sentence that says, the world is in darkness and whatever light the world enjoys is the reflected glory of Christ and his people. And that's a powerful thought for us right there. We in our families, in our workplace, in our communities are the source of light, reflecting the glory of Christ into that darkness. And it reminded me of the photos that you see sometimes taken of Earth from space, where you see part of Earth in darkness, but you can see lights in the different places where built up populations are. We are the light in the darkness. And it's something that I've always understood growing up, and as a child in school I understood that we are different as Christians, and that there were conversations or there was language that I needed to stay away from because I'm a Christian. I needed to be different to allow Jesus to be seen. I needed to not engage in those conversations and topics or use that bad language, because that in itself is a witness. I used to work for Boots many years ago, and the environment I worked in was tough because people blasphemed and swore just part of everyday conversation. But when they were around me, they'd make an effort not to, and if they did, they'd apologise. And I never asked them for that. I never demanded that people talk differently around me, but they knew that I was a Christian and respected that, and that led to some good conversations. We can be a witness by the way that we are, the way that we act, the way that we live. Living by God's example, God's light shines through us. Today's reading is an encouragement for us that we take the light of God with us wherever we go. We are that torch shining into the darkness. It's also a challenge for us. Are we making sure that we are living right with God? That we're not giving a false witness by the way that we are sometimes? Are we living as an example of Jesus? Is there anything that we maybe need to put right before God? Because if so, now's the time to do it. God wants to use us to spread his light into the world around us. Let's do that every day. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.